I found my new neighbor staring through my kitchen window at 8:43 on a Thursday evening, and honestly, that wasn't even the oddest thing that happened to me that week. But it was the moment that stuck with me the longest. I'd just gotten back from patching a roof on the east side of Dayton. My shoulders were shot, my shirt was crusted stiff with sweat, and my knees were doing that little clicking thing that reminds a grown man he's not 24 anymore. I pulled the work truck into the driveway, grabbed my lunch cooler, and cut around the side of the house because the back door sticks less than the front one does. That's when I spotted her. She was standing in that thin strip of lawn separating my property from the little rental next door, tilted just enough to be peering through my window. She wasn't sneaking, not really. It looked more like someone who already knew what she was doing looked bad, but had decided she could live with the embarrassment. I could have tapped on the glass, could have cleared my throat. I could have just gone inside and acted like I hadn't noticed anything. That would have been more my style back then. Instead, I walked up behind her and kept my voice quiet. Casing the place? She spun around so fast she nearly clipped the downspout. Good grief. Relax, I told her. I don't own much worth taking, unless you want the curtains. And fair warning, they came with the house. They've seen some things. She looked at me for a beat, then glanced back at the window. You don't have curtains. That's exactly my point. Extremely low-effort break-in, then. She should have apologized and slipped back inside. Most people would have. A regular person might have mumbled something about checking a property line or hunting for a lost cat. She just crossed her arms instead. Well, if I were stealing something, it'd probably be you. I looked at her. She looked right back. That was Sarah. I didn't know it at the time, but that was her entire deal. She never backed off just because a moment turned awkward. She'd lean into it, stir it around, and force you to choose between being honest or hiding behind a joke. I shifted my cooler to the other hand. You always introduce yourself by committing a minor crime? Only to neighbors who don't answer their door. You knocked. Twice. I was on the roof. I noticed. From the window? She smiled slightly. From outside the window. I glanced toward her place before that. Her porch light was on, and through her front window I could make out warm lighting and a table set for two. That unsettled me more than the spying had. A woman peering through a window could mean a dozen harmless things. A table set for two meant intention. She caught me noticing. I cooked, she said. That explains the stakeout. I was confirming you were home. Phones exist. I don't have your number. Doors exist. You weren't answering. Because I wasn't home. Well, now you are. I glanced down at myself. Dust on my jeans, roofing tar smeared on one sleeve, looking like I'd been towed behind the truck for a few miles. I'm not exactly presentable for dinner. You look hungry. Not the same thing. It is tonight. I gave a short laugh. You always this pushy? You always this hard to get fed? That should have been where it ended. I should have said thanks but no thanks, gone inside, showered, and eaten a cold sandwich standing at the sink alone, the way I had for nearly 2 years. Instead, I heard myself ask, "What did you make?" "Chicken, potatoes, a salad." Nothing weird. Define weird. No raisins hiding where they don't belong. I nodded. Strong opening. 5 minutes, she said. Get cleaned up. Come over. 5 minutes? Generous of you. If you say no, I'll know you're scared of chicken. Pointed at her. That's a cheap move. Still worked, though. It had. That annoyed me. If I'd known where that single dinner would eventually lead, I might have hung real curtains that very night, or maybe I'd have crossed the yard faster. I showered in 4 minutes flat, threw on a clean shirt, and stood in my kitchen longer than necessary, telling myself I was only going because it was polite. That wasn't true. I went because she'd caught me at a weak moment. Not weak like helpless. Weak like a man too tired to keep guarding every door inside himself. When I knocked, she opened up before I even stepped back. You actually came. You threatened my reputation regarding poultry. Had to protect it. Her place still looked half unpacked. A few boxes lined against the wall, books stacked on the floor, a framed photo leaning against the couch instead of hung up. She hadn't staged a thing. She just cooked dinner and expected me to sit down like people still did that. I stayed near the doorway. You sure about this? I'm basically a stranger with roofing grit under his nails. I've seen your truck parked here every morning at 6. I watched you haul Mrs. Donnelly's trash cans up during last week's storm. You fixed her wobbly mailbox post without telling a soul. You're not that mysterious. Mrs. Donnelly was the retired teacher across the street who tracked the whole block from behind her lace curtains and somehow knew my schedule better than I did. I raised an eyebrow. So the window thing was part of a larger investigation. Neighborhood recon. Sounds tidier. Sit down, Mark. I stopped. She smiled again. Mrs. Donnelly, obviously. She also mentioned you're grouchy but handy. That woman doesn't waste a word. She set a plate down at one chair and pulled out the other for herself. I'm Sarah. Got that part already. Welcome to my first successful neighbor dinner. I'm the first. You're the first who got caught before dessert. I sat because it was easier than pretending I didn't want to. Dinner was good, nothing fancy, just hot, normal food that hadn't come out of a paper bag. For a while we stuck to safe territory. Her move, my work, the neighborhood. The raccoon treating my trash cans like an all-you-can-eat buffet. So you run the roofing company? She asked. Small operation. 3 crews when it's busy. Most days it feels like I own a phone that never stops buzzing. But it's yours. Yeah, matters until payroll on Friday. She cut a potato in half. Do you like it? Some days, I like fixing problems. I like that when we're finished the leak stops. People get dry rooms again. Simple. You make it sound simple. It's not. But the outcome is, water belongs outside the house. Profound guy, I know. She laughed, and I liked the sound more than I wanted to admit. What about you? I asked. Marketing operations for a healthcare software company. That's the kind of answer people give when they're hoping you won't ask a follow-up. Correct on all counts. I make chaos less chaotic. Meetings, timelines, campaigns, budgets. I translate panic into spreadsheets. Spreadsheets, where joy goes to be disciplined. Spoken like a man who's never chased 6 department heads for one signature. I chase subcontractors. Same disease, different boots. She pointed her fork at me. There. Common ground. The conversation kept rolling, which surprised me. Usually I ran out of interest in people before they ran out of things to say. Sarah didn't talk just to fill silence. She asked questions, actually listened, then pushed back on whatever sounded lazy. So you live alone? She asked later while we cleared plates. Yes. You say that like the word owes you money. I've had practice. Divorced. I set a plate in the sink a little too carefully. Yeah. How long? Almost 2 years. She nodded, not pushing yet. Bad. Most divorces don't earn 5 stars. Fair. You? Never married. Smart. Sounds encouraging. I'm a motivational speaker on weekends. She leaned against the counter, watching me dry a plate like it required deep concentration. Did it make you bitter? No. Mark. I looked at her. She didn't smile that time. I set the plate down. It made me quiet. That, I believe. That's all you get tonight. Fine. Just like that she let it drop. No wounded look, no theatrics, no demand that I earn trust in a single evening because she'd fed me chicken. That shouldn't have impressed me as much as it did. By midnight, we were still parked at her kitchen table. I'd learned she'd grown up just outside Columbus. Hated being told what she wanted. Loved old houses even when they were a hassle. And had taken this rental to get some distance from her family without starting a war. Distance from your family? I asked. She tapped a finger against her mug. They're involved. That can mean a lot. With them it means they call it advice, but it always shows up with a price tag attached. I understood more than she'd said, and I knew better than to dig further on night 1. So this house is part of the distance? Supposed to be. She shrugged. We'll see. I checked the time and stood. I should get out of here before this turns weird. She glanced around the table. Pretty sure that happened near the window. True. Then I should leave before it turns weirder. At the door she handed me a plastic container. Leftovers. I can feed myself. I've seen no evidence of that. I own a microwave. That's evidence for the prosecution. I took the container. Her fingers brushed mine. Nothing dramatic happened. The floor didn't tilt. I didn't suddenly become a man who believed in omens. But I noticed. And she noticed that I noticed. She opened the door. Good night, Mark. Good night, Sarah. I walked home across the yard with dinner in hand and a feeling I couldn't manage with a calendar. After that, we settled into the kind of neighbor rhythm where both people know something started but neither wants to say it out loud. Mornings. She'd wave from her porch while I loaded the truck. Try not to fall off anything, she called once. I'll put it on the agenda. You joke. But I mean it. I'll downgrade from falling to mild leaning. Evenings, if she saw me pull in, she'd find an excuse to step outside. The trash, the mail, a box she suddenly needed to move. I knew exactly what she was doing because I wasn't stupid. I also kept walking slower than necessary, so apparently I had my own private system of denial. One Friday she stood at the edge of her driveway wrestling a stubborn garden hose. This thing hates me. It's a hose. Don't take it personally. It's kinked 3 times. That's intentional. I walked over, worked out the kink, and handed it back. Try not fighting it like it insulted your family. You talk to everything like it's a crew member. Objects respond better than crew members usually. She sprayed the flower bed and, somehow, hit my boots. Sorry. That looked pretty deliberate. It slipped. Your hose has an accomplice. She laughed, and for a second we stood too close, water running into the dirt, both pretending we were still discussing landscaping. Then my phone rang. Work. I stepped back. Gotta take this. Of course. I answered before I could say anything more. That was the pattern. Warm, brief, unfinished. I told myself it was fine. Friendly neighbors. Nothing wrong with friendly neighbors. Nothing dangerous about a woman inventing reasons to see you and looking straight at you while she talked. Then I got sick. Not dramatically, no emergency. Just the slow kind that starts with "I'm fine" and ends with a grown man sweating through his sheets at noon, debating whether standing up is worth the risk. I ignored it for 3 days because roofs don't repair themselves and customers don't love hearing the owners running a fever. By day 4 I stopped answering texts that weren't urgent, canceled 2 estimates, and slept through most of a Monday. A knock came around 3. I ignored it. Another knock. I pulled a pillow over my head. Then my phone buzzed. Sarah, I know you're in there. Me, not a good time. Sarah, that means yes. Me, it means not a good time. Sarah, open the door or I'm calling Mrs. Donnelly and telling her you need soup and supervision. I muttered something under my breath I won't repeat, because my mother raised me better than my fever was letting on. I dragged myself to the door and opened it. Sarah stood there with a grocery bag in each hand. You look awful. Good to see you too. Move. I'm contagious. Then breathe that way. She stepped past me anyway. Sarah. She set the bags down and surveyed the sink, the trash, the empty cups lined up like evidence at a crime scene. Oh, Mark, this isn't a museum. No tours. Do you have medicine? Somewhere. Food. I had crackers. When? Time's a social construct. She stared me down. Sit. I don't need. Sit. There's a tone men use on roofs right before something's about to fall. Sarah had that tone. I sat. She moved through my kitchen like arguing with me would waste daylight she didn't have. She found medicine, checked the labels, tossed the expired stuff, put soup on to heat, and started a load of towels. You don't have to clean, I said from the table. I'm not cleaning. I'm preventing a public health incident. My house isn't that bad. She lifted a mug growing something unidentifiable. This might qualify as structural. That might qualify as trash. She filled a glass and set it in front of me. Drink. Bossy with everyone who's sick? Or am I special? You're not special enough to dehydrate. Romance is alive. She paused at the stove. The word just sat there between us. I blamed the fever, safer that way. She turned back around. Drink, Mark. I drank. She stayed 3 hours. Made soup. changed my guest bed sheets because she said my room needed air, wrote out a medicine schedule on a notepad, labeled containers for the fridge. I watched her from the doorway at one point, wrapped in a blanket like some defeated old man. "You do this for everyone?" I asked. "No. Why me?" She shut the fridge. "Because you disappeared. I do that. I noticed. Should have been a clue. It was. I ignored it." "Sarah." "What?" "This isn't simple." She stepped closer, then stopped a few feet away. "Never said it was. You barely know me. I know enough to bring soup. That's not the same as knowing me." "No. It's a start." Part of me wanted to tell her to leave. Not because I wanted her gone, but because I didn't know what to do with someone who saw a mess and didn't use it against me. My ex-wife had treated any inconvenience like a personal insult. Sick meant I was ruining plans. Working late meant I was selfish. Wanting quiet meant I was distant. By the end, even kindness felt like a bill waiting to be paid. Sarah handed me a bowl and spoon. "Eat half, then sleep. And if I don't?" I return with a clipboard. "That's threatening. I work in operations. Comes with the territory. Professional menace." She smiled, but her eyes stayed careful. "I'm not trying to move into your life, Mark. Just making sure you survive until Wednesday. Low bar. Start somewhere." After she left, I sat at the table with warm food in front of me and clean towels humming in the dryer. I felt grateful. I also felt cornered, not by her, but by the possibility that I'd been wrong about what closeness always cost. When I recovered, I didn't know how to say thank you. Words felt too flimsy. Tools, though, that language I understood. Her back fence had been leaning hard toward the alley since the day she moved in. 2 posts rotted at the base, one section slapping around in the wind. She'd lashed it with rope and called it temporary. Temporary, in homeowner terms, usually means until it embarrasses me in front of company. Saturday morning, I loaded spare lumber from my garage, grabbed my post-hole digger, and knocked on her back door. She opened it with coffee in hand. "You lost." "No. Fixing your fence." She blinked. "Morning to you too. Brought materials." "I can see that. Where's the old board going?" "Mark, you don't have to." "I know." "Then why?" "You brought medicine, scrubbed my kitchen, labeled soup like I was a confused bear. This is my lane." She stepped outside. "You could have just said thank you." "Saying it with cedar. It's pine. Don't ruin the moment." She laughed but still looked unsure. "I don't want you doing free labor because you feel indebted. I don't do guilt projects." "You sure?" "I run crews for a living. If I didn't want to fix it, I'd be home ignoring my own gutters." She sipped her coffee, studying me. "Fine. But I'm helping." "No." "Yes, you have office hands." "I have hands. They're available. You'll get splinters. I'll survive the tragedy." I pointed toward the porch. "Bring water. Offer admiration from a safe distance." Wow. Traditional. Practical. Convenient word. Accurate word. She set her mug down. "Give me gloves." She worked beside me most of the morning. Not expertly, but she listened, held board steady, hauled scraps, asked smart questions, and rolled her eyes exactly twice when I corrected her grip. "You always this particular?" "When something needs to stand upright, yes." "Noted." I looked up. She looked away a beat too late. "Careful." "With the shovel?" "With that." "Too much." "Close." "Good to know." I went back to setting the post because I needed something solid to hold on to. By lunch, the fence stood straight. Not showroom perfect, but strong, honest. She walked its length, brushing the top rail. "It changes the whole yard. It changes the part that was falling down." "Can I pay you?" "No." "Mark." "No. At least let me cook again." I wiped my hands. "You cook a lot for someone living alone." "I like cooking. I don't like eating by myself." Direct. "I've been accused of the same thing." "By who?" "My mother. Usually right after I say something true at the wrong table." There it was again, her family, hovering at the edge of the conversation like a locked door with someone breathing behind it. I packed my tools. What time? Dinner. No, the moon landing. 7. I'll be clean this time. Bold promise from a roofer. I own soap. I'll alert the press. That second dinner felt different. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew. The first had been strange and funny and accidental. This one carried weight. 2 places said again. I showed up with grocery store flowers and regretted it the second she opened the door, because it felt like too much and not enough at once. She looked at them. For me or the fence? The fence doesn't own a vase. Smooth. I panicked in the produce aisle. You bought flowers near the produce section? Apparently romance lives between the lettuce and the onions. She took them, smiling in a way that made me stare at the floor for a second. Thank you. I like panic flowers. Dinner moved slower that night. We got into work, then the divorce. She never asked directly, which somehow made me more willing to talk. She was gone before she was gone, I said. Sarah set her glass down. Meaning, she was physically home, but never really there. New friends, new plans, a whole new version of herself I wasn't invited to meet. Then one day she announced she'd been unhappy for a long time. Like that explained the wreckage on her way out. I'm not saying I was perfect, I added. I worked too much. Thought paying bills and just showing up counted as enough. Didn't. But there are ways to end a marriage that don't make the other person feel like every ordinary day was secretly a setup. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't do it. No. But I can still be sorry it happened to you. I nodded once. That landed somewhere I usually kept locked. What about you? Why this rental? Why this street? She leaned back. My parents wanted me downtown in a condo they picked, close to restaurants where they know the owners, and neighbors who ask the right kind of questions. And you chose the place with a suicidal fence instead? I chose the place where nobody here cared what my last name meant. Does it mean something? To them? Absolutely. To you? She exhaled. It means expectations. My car wasn't really mine. My apartment wasn't really mine. Every choice I made was up for group discussion, and every nice thing came with a hook buried in it. Sounds exhausting. It's comfortable. At least you're honest. That's the problem. Comfort can make you stupid. We sat with that sentence a while. Not pretty. True though, and true was better. Later at her door, neither of us hurried to move. She stood close enough that I could have leaned in. I wanted to. I also knew wanting something wasn't the same as being ready to handle it. She looked up. You're overthinking. Rude, but accurate. Are you going to kiss me? I laughed. You ask questions like you're ordering office supplies. I like clarity. Trying not to rush. Good. Good. Yes, but don't hide behind honorable forever. Starts looking suspicious eventually. I smiled despite myself. I'll keep my suspicious honor under review. Do that. I left without kissing her. Right call. Also incredibly annoying. The weeks that followed did what weeks tend to do once you stop fighting them. They quietly built something while I was busy pretending to be in control. Dinner became a twice-a-week thing, then 3. Sometimes at her place, sometimes mine, after I panic-cleaned my counters like a man bracing for a health inspection. We walked downtown on Sundays. We drove out to a lake one day because she insisted I needed to see water that wasn't running through a gutter. I started fixing little things around her rental. She pretended not to notice she kept finding more of them. My porch step squeaks, she said one evening. It squeaks because wood moves. It sounds lonely. Don't emotionally manipulate me through lumber. Is it working? I'll bring the drill. She'd wait for me after work, sometimes with dinner already warm. You don't have to, I told her. I know. I could grab food. I know. I don't want you thinking this is a job. She looked at me over the pan. Mark, I'm not auditioning for a position. I like feeding you. You like pretending you're not happy about it. We all have hobbies. I don't pretend. You absolutely pretend. Fine. I perform mild resistance for dignity. There it is. The first time I kissed her, It happened in my kitchen while she rinsed plates and argued that I owned too many chipped mugs. This one's cracked. It holds coffee. For now. We all hold coffee for now. That's grim. That's practical. She turned, laughing, and the space between us shifted. No fanfare, no soundtrack. Just her with wet hands and me standing there holding a dish towel. Both of us suddenly quiet. Sarah. Yeah. I'm done being suspiciously honorable for tonight. She set the plate down. Good. The kiss was slow because neither of us wanted to cheapen it. When we broke apart, she kept her hands braced on the counter. Was that under review? Approved. Unanimously? I run an efficient little committee. After that, it stopped being a cute neighbor story and became something real meaning good, and real meaning dangerous. She learned the ugly side of my schedule. Early mornings, late-night calls, storm emergencies, customers who thought water damage should be fixed with a prayer and a coupon. I learned she could juggle 3 impossible work deadlines and still forget to buy groceries. She learned I go quiet when something actually matters. I learned she gets sharp the second she feels someone trying to make decisions for her. One night she showed up with her laptop and worked at my table while I sorted invoices. Very glamorous, she said. You wanted a blue-collar man. Don't remember filing that request. You looked through my window. That counts. Fair. She frowned at her screen. Ugh. What? My mother texted. I glanced up. Bad. Not bad. Just normal. She read aloud. Your father and I are passing through Dayton Thursday. Dinner at 7. Wear the green dress. It photographs well. I waited. She flipped the phone face down. She tells you what to wear? Sometimes. And you do it? Sometimes it's easier. I looked at her, then back at my invoices. That sounds expensive. It is. Do you want to see them? They're my parents. That's not what I asked. She rubbed her forehead. I don't know. I want them to know me without editing me first. Have they met men you've dated? Yes. How'd that go? They liked the ones I didn't care about. Hated the one I did. I leaned back. Am I going to be a problem? She looked at me a long moment. To them? Probably. To you? No. That should have reassured me. It did, for about 10 seconds. Her parents arrived earlier than planned. A Tuesday, not the promised Thursday. I was at Sarah's, replacing a loose cabinet hinge after she'd invited me for dinner and confessed the cabinet had been making threats. Screwdriver in hand, I heard a black sedan pull up outside. Sarah looked out the window and froze. What? I asked. My parents. You said Thursday. They said Thursday. The doorbell rang. She closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. I'm sorry. For what? For whatever this turns into. Sounds promising. It's not. She opened the door. Her mother came in first. Polished, controlled, eyes sweeping the room and landing on me. Her father followed, taller, carrying the quiet of a man used to being listened to regardless. Sarah. Her mother kissed the air near her cheek. Surprise. Yeah, it is. Her father looked at me. And this is. Sarah moved beside me, not behind me. This is Mark. My boyfriend. Boyfriend. We'd used the word between us before, but hearing her say it to them gave it weight. I set the screwdriver on the counter and offered a hand. Evening. Mark Reynolds. Her father shook it briefly. Daniel Whitmore. Her mother's smile thinned. Evelyn. Sarah gestured to the cabinet. Mark was fixing something before dinner. I can see that, Evelyn said. Daniel eyed my work clothes. You're a contractor? I own a roofing company. Roofer, technically. That's part of the job. How old are you, Mark? 34. Evelyn turned to Sarah. You're 28. I know my own age, Mom. That's a considerable gap. 6 years isn't a scandal. It isn't only the years. I heard it then. Not surprised, judgment already fully constructed, just waiting for an opening. Sarah's voice sharpened. Say what you actually mean. Evelyn looked at me. Fine. This isn't the kind of man you build a secure future around. I nodded slightly. Well, Took us 3 minutes to get personal. Mom, Daniel raised a hand. We're not attacking you, Sarah. No, you're attacking him. You just think I'm too dependent to notice. Her father's jaw tightened. Watch your tone. I stepped forward slightly, not between them, just enough to make my presence known. Daniel, Evelyn. I get that walking in on someone unexpected isn't ideal, but you're in her home. Ask me whatever you want. You don't have to discuss me like I'm a ceiling leak. Daniel looked at me. Fine. What exactly are your intentions with our daughter? Sarah laughed once, sharp. Dad, don't. I kept my voice even. My intention is to treat her with respect and let her run her own life. That sounds rehearsed. It isn't. I just don't need a committee's approval. Evelyn's expression cooled further. Sarah, may we speak privately? No. Excuse me, you walked into my home and insulted the man I'm with. You can say it in front of him. Daniel glanced around the small kitchen like the room itself had personally offended him. This is exactly what we feared. You move into this place, play at independence, and now you're with a man who works with his hands and is nearly 40 instead of 30. I looked at Sarah. Want me to leave? No. You sure? Yes. So I stayed. Evelyn set her purse on the table like she was opening a business meeting. Sarah, listen carefully. This ends now. Whatever point you're making, you've made it. End it before it becomes humiliating. Sarah's face shifted, not louder, harder. You don't get to call my life humiliating. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Daniel's voice dropped. If you continue with this, there will be consequences. I nearly smiled. Men like Daniel love that word. Consequences. A tidy, polished word that sounds better than control. What consequences? Sarah asked. Evelyn answered. The car goes back. The card gets cancelled. No more transfers. No more covering emergencies. No more help once this little experiment turns into real life. There it was, the hook Sarah had mentioned. I looked at her, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw fear she couldn't joke her way out of. Not fear of losing me, fear of the ground shifting because the people who'd given it to her were yanking it back. I wanted to speak. I didn't. This was hers to draw. Sarah swallowed. Then take it. Evelyn blinked. What? The car, the money, whatever you think buys permission. Take it. Daniel stared. Don't be childish. I'm not. You have no idea what things actually cost. Then I'll learn. With him. With myself. Mark isn't the reason you control me. He's just the first choice I made that you couldn't dress up. The room went silent. I'd heard strong women talk before. I'd heard angry women talk before. This was different. Sarah was scared, and she stayed standing anyway. That mattered. Courage without fear is just confidence. Courage with fear is expensive. Evelyn picked up her purse. You're making a mistake. Maybe, Sarah said, but it'll be mine. Daniel gave me one last look. You should be ashamed of yourself. For what? For letting her throw away her future. I held his gaze. Her future isn't a family subscription plan. Sarah made a sound that was almost a laugh, though her eyes were wet. Daniel didn't laugh at all. They left without eating. The next couple of days were quietly ugly. Her parents did exactly what they'd threatened. A driver arrived to take the car, apologizing the entire time. Her emergency card stopped working. Her mother sent a text that read like a corporate memo doused in disappointment. Sarah stood in my driveway after the car left, arms crossed tight. You okay? I asked. No. Want me to say something useful? Do you have anything? No. Then no. I nodded. She stared at the empty spot where the car used to be. I knew they might do it. Knowing doesn't make it fun. No. It makes it embarrassing. To who? Me. I'm 28, and my parents just repossessed my car like I missed curfew. I leaned on my truck. You've got a job. Yes. You've got legs. Charming. You've got me, willing to drive you until you sort it out. She looked over. I don't want to become one more thing you have to carry. Good. I don't want to carry you. There's a difference. We build a plan. You handle your own bills. Buy a used car once the math works. And stop treating comfort like ownership. She stared at me a second, then nodded. Okay. Okay. That wasn't soft, but it was useful. Limited menu over here. She stepped closer. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm about to make you build a budget. That sounds worse than losing the car. Might be. We built one at my kitchen table, her laptop open beside my old calculator, because I liked buttons I actually understood. She hated parts of that night. She had more pride than patience. I could cancel that, she said, pointing at a line. Sure. No. But I can. You don't have to torch your whole life to prove a point. I'm not. Sarah. She closed her eyes. I don't actually know what things cost. I hate that he was right about that. He was right about the fact, wrong about what it means. It means you learn. That's it. She reached for the calculator. Fine. Teach me, roofman. Gladly, spreadsheet lady. For a stretch, we did better than expected. She rode with me when our schedules lined up, took the bus when they didn't, and found a used car lot she could actually afford after saving for a couple months. She stopped ordering takeout out of habit and started cooking with more care. She complained honestly, which I respected more than fake cheer. This is humiliating, she muttered one night, comparing insurance quotes. No, this is boring. Humiliation has better lighting. She shot me a look. Was that supposed to help? No. Just breaking the mood. Didn't work. I'll try juggling. Please don't. But the pressure worked on me quietly, in ways I didn't admit fast enough. I watched her track every dollar, skip lunches with coworkers, sell 2 designer bags online without any speech about it, borrow my truck whenever I could spare it. She said she was fine. Sometimes she was. Sometimes she stood in the grocery aisle too long, because the old Sarah would have just bought what she wanted, and the new Sarah was doing math in her head. And I started sinking into a poisonous thought. This is happening because of me. I knew that wasn't the full truth. Her parents built that trap long before I showed up, and Sarah chose to walk out of it herself. But fear doesn't care about accurate bookkeeping. My fear wore a responsible face. It told me I was protecting her. It told me a real man knows when he's the weight dragging someone under. So I pulled back, not all at once. Cowardice likes wearing work boots. I picked up extra jobs. I answered slower. Told her I was tired when really I was scared. Stopped staying late after dinner. Kissed her at the door and left before the moment could ask anything of me. She noticed, obviously. One Sunday evening she showed up at my garage while I sharpened blades that didn't need it. My foreman and friend Luis had just left after dropping off equipment, and he'd passed her in the driveway with his hands up like he wanted no part of whatever was coming. Good luck, boss, he called. Traitor, I called back. Sarah stepped into the garage. We need to talk. I set the tool down. Usually a great start. Don't joke your way out of this. Wasn't planning to. You've been avoiding me. I've been working. You've been working since the day I met you. This is different. I wiped my hands on a rag. I think we should slow down. Her expression didn't crack, but it closed off. Why? Things changed. Yes, they did. You lost a lot. I chose. You lost your car, your parents, your safety net. I know. I was there. I don't want you waking up 6 months from now resenting me because your world got smaller. She stared at me. Is that what you think? That I'm shrinking? I think you're struggling. I am. Adults struggle. I can't give you what they could. I never asked you to. You might miss it. I do miss some of it. That hit harder for being honest. She stepped closer. I miss not stressing over every bill. I miss my car. I miss calling my mom without gearing up for a fight. I miss easy. There. Happy? No. Good. Because that wasn't meant to comfort you. I looked away. She said my name once. I looked back. I gave those things up because I was sick of being rented back to myself. She said. Not because you hypnotized me with roofing invoices. Sarah, no. You don't get to turn my choice into your burden just because it scares you. I'm trying to do the right thing. You're trying to leave before I can. I didn't answer fast enough. Her eyes narrowed. That's it, isn't it? It's not that simple. Feels pretty simple from here. I'm not your ex. I said it and instantly hated myself for reaching for the wrong weapon. She went still. No, I'm not. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant the woman before me hurt you, so now I have to pay in advance. I stepped toward her. That's not fair. Neither is you deciding my future for me and calling it noble. The garage felt smaller than it was. She pointed toward the street. My father tried controlling me with money. Don't control me with guilt. That sentence did more damage to my argument than any shouting could have. I leaned back against the workbench. I'm scared I'm not enough. They're plain, ugly, no packaging. Her face softened, but she didn't rescue me from it. Then say that. Don't dress it up like you're saving me. I don't know how to do this without bracing for it to break. Then learn with me. What if it does break? Then we deal with it like adults. But if you push me away because you're afraid, that breaks it right now. I looked at her hands. Grease on one finger from the workbench. She noticed and wiped it clean. I walked away from my parents' money, she said. Not so you could become another man making decisions over my head. I nodded slowly. You're right. I know that. I need more than you're right. I straightened. Okay, here's more. I'm done pulling back. I'm scared, but I won't make that your punishment. If you want this, I'm in it. Not halfway, not until I get nervous. In it. She watched me carefully. And when you get scared again, I'll say it before I start acting like a ghost. Good. And you'll tell me when you miss things, instead of pretending discount grocery store coffee is a spiritual awakening. She almost laughed. That coffee is terrible. Tastes like regret. It was on sale. Tastes like it. That got a real laugh out of her. And the tension in the garage eased by a few inches. She stepped close enough to touch my shirt. I don't need you rich, Mark. I need you here. I put my hands on her waist, careful but sure. I can do that. You'd better. I will. That was the night I stopped treating love like a job I wasn't qualified for. It wasn't a clean cure. Real life never gives you that. I still had bad nights. Old doubts still whispered when things got hard. But I stopped taking orders from them. Sarah and I built something that looked unremarkable from outside and felt anything but from within. 3 months later, she bought a used compact car. Nothing flashy. A dent near the rear door. A radio that only worked when treated with respect. She was prouder of it than she'd ever been of the one her parents had handed her. The day she drove it home, she got out and pointed. Behold. I circled it. Character. That's contractor for ugly. Didn't say ugly. You said it in contractor. It's got a dent. It's got independence. It's got a dent and independence. She tossed me the keys. Check it out. I drove it around the block, listened to the engine, tested the brakes, came back. It'll do. That's your blessing? Strong blessing. Coming from my people. Your people being grumpy men with socket sets? Exactly. She leaned against the car. I paid for it myself. No help. I know. I keep wanting to call my dad and throw that in his face. Don't. I won't. But I want to. That part's free. There were still hard nights. She cried once in my kitchen after her mother skipped her birthday call and sent a gift card through an assistant instead. She hated that it got to her. This is stupid, she said, wiping her face. It's not. You chose this. Choosing something doesn't make you stop feeling the cost. She looked at me. That sounded wise. Are you running a fever again? She laughed through the tears and I just held her. No speech, no big declaration. Just quiet and real. My business grew that year. Not because love magically solved everything, but because I finally had a real reason to come home steady. I made Luis full-time operations lead in the field, stopped grabbing every emergency call personally, and learned delegating wasn't the same as failing. Sarah helped rebuild my scheduling system after I missed 2 appointments and nearly lost it. You need software, she said. I have a notebook. You need software. My notebooks never crashed. Your notebook also can't text customers. It has other strengths. Mark. Fine. Show me the enemy. She built a system so simple even I couldn't argue. Saved me hours weekly. I pretended to hate it for dignity's sake. One evening Luis checked the new schedule on his phone and shook his head. Man, she got you organized. I was organized. You had 3 estimates written on the back of a receipt in your visor. That was a system. That was a cry for help. Sarah, standing by the truck with her coffee, said, "Thank you, Luis. You're welcome. Please keep fixing him." "Hey," Luis grinned. "Boss, she's good for business." Sarah looked at me. "Hear that? Strategic asset. You're impossible and useful." Unfortunately, she smiled like she'd already won because she had. Her parents stayed away longer than I expected, 6 months. Then 7. Sarah checked her phone less often. She grew stronger in quiet ways, made decisions faster, told her mother no by text twice without running the draft by me first. She rebuilt friendships she'd neglected because they hadn't fit neatly into her parents' world. Then one Saturday morning she walked into my kitchen holding her phone. "My dad wants dinner." I looked up from the coffee maker. "With you. With us." I took that in. "What do you want?" "I don't know. You don't have to go." "I know. You also don't have to make a point by refusing." "I know that too." "What did he say?" She read aloud. "Your mother and I would like to have dinner with you and Mark. No agenda. We'd just like to talk." No agenda usually means agenda. That's what I said. "What do you think?" She sat down. "I think they finally realized I'm not coming back just because they made the door expensive. That was pretty good. Been practicing. You want me there?" "Yes." "Then I'll be there." She looked relieved and annoyed that she looked relieved. "I don't want you taking hits for me." "I won't. I'll sit, eat, answer questions, and try not to bring up family subscription services unless provoked." "Please don't say that again." "No promises, if your father starts." "Mark, I'll behave." "Your version. My best available version." Dinner happened at a quiet restaurant outside Columbus. Not too formal, not too casual, neutral ground with cloth napkins. Evelyn looked different when we arrived. Still controlled, but tired around the eyes. Daniel stood as Sarah walked in, looking older than the man who'd once judged my work boots in her kitchen. Sarah stopped beside the table. "Hi." Evelyn reached out, hesitated. Sarah noticed, then let her mother hug her anyway. Daniel shook my hand. Firmer this time, less test, more greeting. We sat. The first 10 minutes were painfully small menus, water, weather, work, the kind of talk people use when the real conversation is standing in the corner, waiting. Evelyn finally set her menu down. "Sarah, I don't quite know how to start this properly." Sarah folded her hands. "Start honestly." Evelyn nodded once. "All right, we handled things badly." Daniel looked at his wife, then at Sarah. "We were angry. Afraid too, though that doesn't excuse it." Sarah's mouth tightened. "Afraid of what?" "That you were making a permanent choice just to react to us," Evelyn said. "That you were confusing independence with opposition." "I wasn't. We know that better now." Daniel cleared his throat. "I also judged Mark without knowing him." I took a sip of water, mostly to avoid rescuing him from the silence. He turned to me. "I apologize for that." "Thank you. I still worry about my daughter." "I'd worry more if you didn't." Sarah glanced at me, surprised. Daniel nodded slowly. "But worry isn't permission to control," he said. Sarah blinked. Evelyn looked down at her napkin. "No," she said quietly. "It isn't." Dinner kept going, not magically, not like a movie where one apology fixes every meal before it. There were awkward gaps. Daniel asked about the company. "How many employees?" 8 full-time, plus seasonal help." "You built that yourself?" "Yes. Hard business. Most honest ones are." He nodded. "Growing. Growing if I don't do anything stupid. Controlled growth. Better crews. Better scheduling. Less chasing every dollar that waves from a bad roof." Sarah smiled. She'd heard me say that before. Evelyn caught it. "You help with his business?" Some systems, Sarah said. Not because he needed saving. I did need scheduling help, I admitted. Sarah pointed at me. See? Growth. Daniel almost smiled. Later, Evelyn asked about the car. I braced myself, but her voice carried no insult this time. Is it reliable? It's fine. Do you need... Evelyn caught herself. That stop mattered. Sorry, she said. Old habit. Sarah's face softened slightly. It's reliable enough. Mark checked it out. Evelyn looked at me. Thank you. You're welcome. Daniel leaned back. We'd like to be part of your life again, he told Sarah. Not as managers, as parents, if you'll let us. Sarah didn't answer right away. Good for her. Forgiveness handed out too quickly is usually just fear dressed up in manners. I want that, she said finally. But not if every visit becomes a performance review of my choices. It won't, Evelyn said. It might, Sarah replied. You're both very talented. I coughed into my napkin. Daniel glanced at me. Something funny? A little. Sarah shot me a warning look, fighting a smile of her own. Evelyn actually laughed. Small, but real. All right, she said. We'll earn it. That was the closest thing to peace we got that night. Not full forgiveness in one clean bite. More like the first honest meal after a long stretch of going hungry. On the drive home, Sarah stayed quiet. You okay? I asked. I think so. That was a lot. Yeah. You handled it well. Wanted to throw bread at my father once. I'd have supported that emotionally. Not physically, too many witnesses. She laughed and looked out the window. A few miles later she reached over and took my hand. Thanks for not trying to win. I wanted to. I know. Had at least 3 good lines ready. I know that too. Retired them out of respect for the evening. Very mature. It hurt. She squeezed my hand. When we got home, she didn't head to her own place right away. We stood between our 2 driveways. The same thin strip of grass where I'd caught her staring through my window months earlier. She glanced toward my kitchen. Ever think about curtains? Sometimes. Going to buy any? No. Why? I looked at her. View's gotten better. She rolled her eyes, then stepped close and kissed me anyway. A year later, her parents came to a small dinner at my place. A house with much better furniture by then, because Sarah had explained that a folding chair isn't a viable long-term dining strategy. Her mother brought dessert. Her father brought a toolbox he claimed he'd found in the garage and didn't need. It was too nice to be anything but an excuse. Thought you might use it, Daniel said. I opened it, looked at the tools, then at him. Not subtle. No, he admitted. Sarah crossed her arms. Dad. He raised both hands. No strings. I studied him a second. All right. Thank you. He nodded, then added. But if you ever want to talk about expanding your cruise, I've got thoughts. Daniel, Evelyn said. Dad, Sarah said. After dinner, I said. Everyone looked at me. What? I didn't say I'd take the advice. Said I'd hear it. Daniel smiled for real that time. That's how trust worked its way back into her family. Not through one grand apology, not one dramatic scene, but a series of small moments where people had a chance to grab for control and chose not to. Sarah and I didn't rush into living together, not trying to prove anything to anyone. She found a place of her own she could afford and still chose to spend most nights at mine, because choosing means more when you can walk away instead. Eventually my house slowly became ours, complete with arguments over cabinet space, office files, and whether a man genuinely needs 7 nearly identical work jackets. I do, I told her. You don't. They're identical. Different jobs. Different shades of responsibility. She held one up, sleeve torn. And this one's responsible for? Morale. Trash. Compromise. Garage. Accepted. The business kept growing. Not huge, I never wanted huge, but solid. We added another crew, bought a second truck, moved into a small office with an actual sign out front. Sarah switched jobs too, into a role where nobody knew her family name and nobody cared what dinner table she'd grown up at. She earned her raises the hard way and enjoyed them more because of it. Sometimes the past still knocked. My ex sent one message after seeing a photo of Sarah and me at a neighborhood cookout. Nothing dramatic, just a little fishing line tossed into old water. I deleted it without responding. Sarah caught my expression. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, sure." I handed her the phone. She read it, handed it back. "What do you want to do?" "Nothing." "Because you're avoiding it? Or because you're done?" I thought about that. "Because I'm done." She nodded. "Good. No jealousy, no performance. Just trust with its sleeves rolled up. That, more than anything, finished what the divorce had started in me. Not revenge, not proving my ex wrong. Just realizing the woman beside me didn't need my confusion to feel secure. Sarah wanted the truth even when it was inconvenient, especially then. Her parents came around fully over time. Evelyn still had opinions. Daniel still carried himself like silence counted as patience. But they learned. When Sarah said no, they actually heard it. When she said yes, it belonged entirely to her. That was the whole point. One summer evening, Daniel stood beside me in the backyard while I checked the grill. The fence I'd repaired still stood straight between our two lots. Even though Sarah's old rental had a new tenant by then, and our life had crossed that property line in every way that mattered. Daniel watched Sarah and Evelyn through the kitchen window, talking, easy, not performing. "I was wrong about you," he said. I closed the grill lid. "Yes, you were." He gave a low laugh. "You don't soften things much. Not when they're already true. Suppose I earned that." "You did." He nodded. "Glad she chose well." I looked through the window at Sarah, laughing at something her mother had said. A bowl balanced on her hip, at ease in a house she'd helped turn into a home. "She chose herself first," I said. "That's why this worked." Daniel was quiet a while. "Fair." That night, after they'd gone, Sarah and I cleaned the kitchen together. She washed, I dried, a habit that had stuck since the beginning. "You and my dad had a moment," she said. "Did we?" "I document those." "Keeping a scrapbook?" "Mental one." "Sounds healthy." "Very." "What did he say?" "That he was wrong about me." "And you said?" "That he was." She laughed. "Mark." "What?" "Growth doesn't require lying." "No, it doesn't." We finished the dishes. She flipped off the kitchen light, and for a second the window threw both our reflections back at us. I thought about that first night, her outside, me inside, both of us on opposite sides of a pane of glass I'd never bothered covering because I figured nobody was looking in, and I was done looking out. I've been wrong about that too. Sarah stepped beside me. "What are you thinking about?" "That you're still the boldest trespasser I've ever met." "I wasn't trespassing. I was peeking. Research adjacent. Mister's open." She leaned into me. "Glad I did." I put my arm around her. "Yeah. Even with all the mess?" "Especially with the mess." She looked up. "That almost sounded romantic." "Don't tell anyone. Bad for the company image. Your secret's safe." It wasn't flawless after that because nothing real ever is. We still argued. I still overworked myself sometimes. She still had moments where old comfort called her name, especially when things got tight, or her mother mentioned some vacation Sarah could have taken if life had gone differently. But Sarah never slid back into being controlled, and I never went back to being closed off. We kept choosing the harder path often enough that it just became our normal. And now, whenever I come home and catch her through that kitchen window, moving through the house like she belongs there, because she does, I remember the night she caught me first, before I could vanish into my own house the way I always used to. She invited me to dinner like it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. It was the first honest door I'd opened in years. Would you have trusted Sarah after that first strange dinner? Or kept your distance? And do you think her parents deserved the second chance they eventually got?